Ones and zeros, ons and offs are fueling the new wave of gotta-have gadgets and gizmos. The toys, correction, the essentials that guys see and say, yeah, I need that. From phones to flat screens, CDs to MP3s, it's become a digital world. Now, Digitech on Modern Marvels. Welcome to one of the holy shrines of Digidevotion, an electronics superstore. A temple of technology where men come to worship those things that help them see the bigger picture. Get back in touch with those things that matter. And ponder the meaning of life. Yeah, it's all about toys. In the 21st century, a man is measured by his RAM and his ROM, as well as his brain and his brawn.
We have a ritual now among guys, it's the spec roll call. Well, mine has a 600 gigahertz processor. What does yours have? It's our way of one-upping each other.
If you ask Shaquille O'Neal, he'll tell you he's got to have the very latest, greatest tech gadget that's out there before any of his teammates have it.
This has your entire CD inside of it.
What is that?
This is called a music clip from Sony.
It is all a measure of him being cooler than everybody else.
Better, faster, cheaper. It's somewhat amazing when you see faster processor speeds and at the same time less expensive processors so that you get the benefit of both.
But buying bragging rights costs money. Today, electronics manufacturers do just about anything to grab attention. And a piece of the $50 billion spent by consumers on digital products every year.
Digital products let us stay connected to our work and our family. They let us take our entertainment, music, and movies with us just about anywhere. They let us record memories of our families growing up, special events in our lives.
The driving force that's making television crisper, electronics smaller, and access to information faster is digital technology.
Defining digital really comes down to looking at it as a language. We've all heard about ones and zeros and the binary language and all of that. And digital is really a way of expressing content in a binary way. So when you look out at the world, you see images, you hear sounds. It's taking all of that and making it into a language that the computers and the machines can understand.
The computer language of ones and zeros lets us compress vast amounts of information down into manageable files for easier storage, manipulation, and transmission. Every year, manufacturers introduce new digital products. If this is a temple of technology, then the television is the altar at which men worship. Now digital technology is giving our old family friend a facelift. Digital television is the biggest thing to happen to TV since Elvis appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show.
Digital television is the umbrella term for this new medium that will replace analog television as we've known it for 50 years.
Digital TV refers to televisions which can receive and display digital signals. At the highest levels, it's all about a bigger and better picture. Each traditional broadcast station is allocated 6 megahertz of bandwidth. Think of bandwidth like a highway, and each lane is 6 megahertz wide. With digital TV, the signal is compressed, meaning more traffic can fit down that same 6 megahertz lane. One reason it can do this is because a lot of the visual information doesn't change from frame to frame. Digital compression lets one frame of video borrow from the previous frame information that didn't change. Digital TV can provide 4 or 5 standard resolution channels simultaneously. Or a station can choose to devote all of the allocated bandwidth to the ultimate couch potato experience, high-definition television, HDTV.
HDTV is better than being there. It's the ultimate home theater experience with 5 times more information on the screen than analog television. It's really TV on steroids.
Why is digital television better? Well, there's basically 2 reasons. One is the modulation scheme that allows for error-free transmission and reception, and the other one is the video compression, the allowing of more information to be transmitted. If we look at this comparison between standard analog television and digital television, on the analog transmission we can get ghosts, which is a reflection of the main signals. The transmitted signal bounces off of a hill, a tree, a building, and is reflected and arrives at the receiver slightly delayed, and we get 2 images. The other problem that can occur with an analog receiver is snow, a weakening of the signal, which would show up as kind of a splotchy or staticky picture. We see the digital picture here. Not only is it flawless, with no interference or ghosts, those types of things, but it's a denser picture. It has more pixels, and it's a widescreen ratio. So if we compare the two, the image here is cropped and cut down.
In 1996, the Federal Communications Commission accepted HDTV standards. More and more networks are offering HDTV programming, at least part of the time. Over the next 10 to 15 years, all broadcast TV will be digital. That means you're going to have to get rid of Old Faithful, or buy a set-top box to convert the digital signal. But digital television isn't the only reason people are demanding better TV monitors. Another digital device introduced in the mid-1990s has become the fastest-selling consumer electronic product in history.
The DVD is an optical disc, and in many ways it looks like a CD. On the front side, of course, you have the label. The information is actually on this side. And if you could take a microscope and look, you'd see embedded, sort of in pits and craters, the 1s and 0s of the digital language. The digital language has become the universal language now. And that provides the information.
A digital versatile disc player, like a compact disc player, uses a laser to read a microscopic spiral track that holds about 7 times more information than a regular CD. The track, if unspooled, can be over 7 miles in length. Unlike a CD, some DVDs have more than 2 layers and use a smaller laser track to cram more information onto the disc. That's why you get all those added features, such as director commentaries and deleted scenes. And if you're comparing DVD to VHS, there's really no comparison. DVD offers a much better picture. 480 lines of resolution, as opposed to 240 or 250 lines with VHS.
The problem with the VHS tape is it was great when it came out, but this tape that's inside here, it only lasts like 20 years, and then the picture fades. And guess what? The dog can bite this up. I can just destroy this super easily. A DVD, on the other hand, will last a very long time. It has an acrylic coating on the outside. There's aluminum on the inside and also carbon. It is very, very difficult to break this. And if you don't damage it, you can keep it up on your shelf and it will last hundreds and hundreds of years.
The DVD recorder will take away the VCR's last advantage. Also threatening the VCR's 30-year reign is the recent introduction of another digital wonder, the PVR, the personal video recorder. TiVo, Replay TV, and others offer set-top boxes, which are basically computer hard drives that digitally record TV programming.
So you get that great, clear digital picture. They have a commercial skip function. It allows you to pick a program guide. Let's say that I'm a big fan of Star Trek. It'll find all that content and automatically record it for me.
Some PVRs allow you to share programming with other PVR owners. That's great news for Trekkies everywhere. But networks are worried you'll skip those things that keep them on the air. and studios are worried you'll never rent another DVD. As sharing programming becomes as easy as downloading MP3 files. But these types of issues are nothing new. The VCR faced similar attacks in the late 1970s. The motion picture industry sued Sony, maker of the Betamax VCR, to try to stop VCR manufacturing. But in January 1984, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that private home videotaping did not constitute copyright infringement. Will history repeat itself with a PVR? Stay tuned. One day, maybe in the next 5 years, a high-res digital TV monitor will cover your entire living room wall. But historically, digital technology has been all about miniaturization.
We have to be cool, and we do want the biggest hard drives and the most powerful, and we also want the smallest. This is the only place where men argue mine's smaller than yours in wireless phones.
One way to understand how far digital technology has come is to look back at the first electronic digital computers.
The first Univacs had the computing power of your $10 digital watch. Yeah, it was really low.
Now they're classic dinosaurs, big, slow, and extinct. What truth spurred their invention? Easy. Math is hard. The very first calculators were human fingers, or digits, the root word for digital. Digits work well until you run out of fingers and toes. To help keep track of larger numbers, the ancient Chinese used an abacus. Its shiftings are similar to the decimal number system, and it's capable of doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and even square roots. But the first mechanical calculating machines didn't appear until the mid-1600s. The famous French mathematician, Blaise Pascal, invented one of the earliest in 1642. Then, around 1833, Charles Babbage, an English inventor, envisioned what he called the analytical engine. More than a sophisticated calculator, the analytical engine could be considered the first mechanical computer. Babbage imagined all of the basic components of a modern computer. Punch cards acted as input. Calculations were done automatically by the mill, an early central processor, by spinning hundreds of intricate gears, shafts, and number wheels. But Babbage never built the machine. His proto-computer crashed before he could complete it. A victim of imprecise tools and a lack of funding. It wasn't until much later that World War II helped spawn the first true electronic digital computers. One of the earliest in America was the Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, better known as ENIAC. The ENIAC was designed to quickly figure firing tables for artillery pieces headed to war. Firing tables allowed gunners to correctly aim their guns in different ranges, altitudes, temperatures, and wind conditions.
The ENIAC was about 19,000 vacuum tubes. It required an enormous amount of people to maintain it and run it.
ENIAC was huge, 100 feet long with a weight of 30 tons. It contained almost 70,000 resistors, 10,000 capacitors, and 6,000 switches. It could perform up to 5,000 additions, 357 multiplications, and 38 divisions every second. But ENIAC wasn't completed until 3 months after Japan surrendered. Nevertheless, ENIAC was a milestone.
ENIAC really showed the entire world that it was possible to take the concept of a digital electronic computer and make it run.
In 1951, the Remington Rand Company introduced the Univac, the first computer to be sold commercially. It cost a mere $1 million for an entire setup. The Univac was a much faster machine than ENIAC, but only used 5,000 vacuum tubes, as opposed to ENIAC's 19,000. Although the Pentagon, General Electric, and DuPont all used Univacs, computers were still too expensive for most businesses. It would take two little inventions, the transistor and the integrated circuit, to shrink the price tag and the size of the computer itself. In 1959, Robert Noyce and Jack Kilby, engineers for rival transistor manufacturers, independently came up with breakthroughs that led to the same revolutionary idea: an entire network of electronic components, transistors and all, incorporated onto a single chip of silicon.
You took out all the sun lamps and the heat generated by the vacuum tubes, and you reduced the power requirements, but at the same time you're increasing the speed.
But what really made the computer a ubiquitous device was the advent of the microprocessor. Basically, an entire computer on a chip. Working with a Japanese company on a new line of high-performance programmable calculators, Intel introduced the 4004 chip in 1971. The $200 chip delivered as much computing power as the ENIAC did in 1945. The 4004 opened the door to the personal computer revolution. As chip prices came down, a few inexpensive build-it-yourself computer kits started appearing on the market. The Altair was one of the early kits introduced in 1975. It was touted as the world's first mini-computer kit to rival commercial models. At $400 per kit instead of $25,000 for a commercial computer, the Altair generated a lot of interest.
This is an Altair 8800 computer, and to program it, you had to flip these switches 8 at a time relatively quickly in order to have it do what you wanted it to do.
Each flip of the switch represented one bit of information.
It was capable of running word processing programs and accounting programs. This was really the computer that started the personal computer revolution in the United States.
Obviously, the term computer-friendly would have to wait. But two guys from San Francisco wanted to change that. Steve Jobs sold his Volkswagen, and Stephen Wozniak sold his HP calculator to finance the Apple Company and introduced the Apple II computer in 1977. It was a plug-and-play device with no wires to solder. It was also reasonably priced at $1,200. The Apple II was a huge hit. Soon other companies introduced competing products. Hoping to take a big blue bite out of Apple's market share, IBM introduced their version of a personal computing device, simply known as the PC, in 1981. Then the digital dam really burst. Today, microprocessors are in everything from refrigerators to Fords, watches to water sprinklers. They are the on-ramps to the information superhighway. And miniaturization didn't stop at the desktop or even the laptop. Some of the most popular digi-devices today can fit in your shirt pocket. Case in point, the PDA, or Personal Digital Assistant.
Sony's latest Collier handheld, the NR70V, is the first handheld in the industry to feature a built-in digital camera. It allows you to take really quick snapshots of your friends and family in very candid moments. And also, it's got a headphone jack so that you can listen to your MP3 files from wherever you're going. And because the MP3 files are stored on these tiny little memory cards, you can take them wherever you go.
This might be the latest technology, but the PDA revolution started around 10 years ago.
The Apple Newton was really the first attempt to have a small handheld device that could function like a big desktop computer. It was capable of sending and receiving email. You could use it like a word processor. It had a pen that you could take notes with, and then it would translate it into typed text. It was a fairly versatile little device, but it didn't appeal to the average computer user at that time. And part of that was because of the expense.
Introduced in 1993, the Newton was several years ahead of its time, but cost around $1,000. And consumers weren't quite ready to carry around their computer. However, that would soon change. In the late 1990s, PDAs exploded in popularity, thanks in part to the introduction of the less expensive Palm Pilot. Since then, PDAs have become faster, smaller, and cheaper still. Now digital technology is even blurring the line between the various devices.
I used to have a pager and a cell phone and a handheld organizer and digital music players. Now you can have all of those in one handy little package. I call them kind of the electronic Swiss Army knife.
For millions of guys, this is their all-purpose tool of choice, even if it doesn't yet have a corkscrew or tweezers. For some guys, the race to get the latest and greatest digital gizmos is a never-ending marathon. Each year, electronics manufacturers introduce hundreds of new digital products. Several of today's hottest digital products combine two of man's favorite passions: photography and instant gratification.
The cool, neat thing about a digital camera is, you know, you take a shot and you look in the back. Do I like it? I see it right away.
1 hour film developing too long a wait? Join the consumers who purchased 6 million digital cameras in 2001. They're becoming so successful, film may one day be a thing of the past. The heart of most digital cameras is the charge-coupled device, the CCD, which converts light into electrical charges. The CCD is covered with diodes called photosites, which are sensitive to light. An analog to digital converter reads each photosite's value and changes it into digital information in the form of a pixel, a small discrete element that, along with many others, makes up an image. It might seem like the newest technology, but the roots of digital photography date back over 30 years. In 1969, Willard Boyle and George Smith, working for Bell Labs, came up with the idea for the CCD. Hoping the CCD could one day produce high-resolution still images, NASA and other government agencies poured money into improving it. Texas Instruments worked with NASA in the late 1970s and early 80s on digital cameras that would eventually find their way onto the Hubble Space Telescope and the Galileo spacecraft, which investigated the planet Jupiter. The Galileo orbiter produced the equivalent of a 2.5 megapixel image, photos that were out of this world. By the mid-1990s, people on this planet also had access to digital cameras. In 1994, Kodak manufactured and supplied the world's first completely digital consumer camera to Apple Computer, the Apple QuickTake 100.
It was around $1,000, so it was still a little expensive, and you really didn't, know what you had. It's like a traditional camera. The next step in digital cameras was the Casio QV10. This came out in March 1995, and what we did is added an LCD screen on the back, so that when you take a picture, you can actually know you took a good picture. If you didn't like it, you deleted it.
In a few short years, the resolution of digital cameras increased dramatically. Digital cameras are rated by megapixels. That's the number of photosites on each CCD. The higher the megapixel rating, the higher the resolution. Experts say a 2 megapixel camera will produce a suitable 5:7 image. Although it would take a 6 or 7 megapixel digital camera to approximate the true resolution of a 35mm film camera, a 4 megapixel camera is sufficient for 8:10 enlargements.
Cameras are just getting much smaller and easier to use. This is the Casio Excelum camera. It is half-inch thick. It is the size of a business card, basically. 2-megapixel lens. This is about 7 to 8 times more resolution than the early digital cameras.
Even higher megapixel cameras are getting smaller and providing more options.
Here, for example, is one of our 4-megapixel cameras made by Konica. You know, it doesn't hold film, it holds digital media, but it holds more than one form of digital media.
Flash memory cards are like little removable hard drives with no moving parts, which can store images, MP3s, or other files.
So whether it be a memory stick, that can fit into this. We call it a dual slot. Or an SD card, that can also fit into this. And so now, you know, the consumer has their choice of media to use as well.
And for all you James Bond types, the next time you have to save the world, don't forget your wristwatch digital camera. Who knows when it'll come in handy? Speaking of films, what guy hasn't gone to the local multiplex and said, I could make a better movie than that? Now, thanks to digital video cameras, you've got your chance.
The digital camera is enabling people to become Steven Spielberg overnight. You're seeing people who are able to get a camera, go out on the street, tell their own story, share it on the internet, share it with a friend, put it on a CD, put it on a DVD, share it with the world, and get discovered in Hollywood.
Well, it might take a little more than that, but it's certainly getting easier to make a movie.
Sony Electronics introduced the first mini DV camcorder, the DCR VX1000, in 1995. This camcorder revolutionized the consumer camcorder market because it provided an ultra-compact format offering high-quality digital video and CD-like sound.
When the DCR VX1000 was introduced in 1995, it cost around $4,000. But it recorded on digital tape, which is about 1/10 the size of a VHS tape, yet had over twice the resolution. Since then, cameras have gotten even smaller.
The DCR IP5 micro-MV camcorder weighs a mere 12 ounces and can fit into your shirt pocket. You can actually even wear it on your belt, so it's something that you can take with you wherever you may go. The micro-MV cassette is 70% smaller than a standard mini DV cassette, which allows this unit to be much smaller in size. This tape records 60 minutes of digital video and CD quality sound.
So, if you have the camera, all you need are lights and some action. That is, if you're satisfied with hours and hours of raw footage. No need to worry. Today's desktop editing tools can help whittle that film down to a mere 3-hour epic.
Apple Final Cut Pro is the end-all de facto most incredible editing system on a computer. Enables any guy, in fact any grandma, to go onto their computer and truly understand how to get the video out of a camera on a digital basis, put it into your computer, and make some sort of magic.
Today's desktop editing tools such as Final Cut Pro, which costs less than $1,000, rival top-end professional editing systems. So now there's no excuse for not doing your movie. Shoot it, cut it, and let people watch it and say, I can make a better film than that.
What do you mean?
Playing music loud? It's a guy thing. And you have to thank digital technology for giving those dynamite decibels crystal clarity. More than 20 years ago, a 5-inch round piece of plastic revolutionized the music industry. Literally. In the late 1960s, Philips Electronics started working on an optical recording disc that eventually became the CD. After more than 10 years of development and a partnership with another industry giant, Philips and Sony finally brought CD music to the ears of consumers.
Back in 1978, we created a proposal that was presented at a digital audio disc convention to over 35 companies throughout the world. We presented this as a successor to the vinyl LP.
Sony and Philips knew there was something better than vinyl or even audio tape. But making the compact disc posed several technical obstacles. Sony engineers worked to develop develop a sophisticated error correction system, while Philips focused on creating a reliable optical laser. Information is stored on a CD in a spiral track as pits and bumps, representing the ones and zeros of the digital language.
Well, once a compact disc is inserted into a player, the optical pickup emits a beam of laser light that detects the presence or absence of the microscopic pits.
The digital signal is amplified and then sent to your speakers. The beauty of digital is that it's not susceptible to signal degradation, meaning the 100th copy is just as good as the original.
With analog audio, music is reproduced in a series of waveforms, now each of which varies in frequency and loudness. In contrast with digital audio, each waveform is captured or sampled over 44,000 times per second. And then we assign each sample a quantity value of up to 16 bits.
The compact disc itself is made by pressing a clear piece of polycarbonate plastic in a die which embeds the microscopic pits. A thin layer of aluminum goes on next to reflect the reading laser light. A protective acrylic layer is then sprayed on and the label goes on over that. In 1982, the compact disc player hit the shelves. Although only 35,000 units were sold in the US that first year, the CD player has been climbing up the charts ever since, with total sales of more than 1 billion worldwide today. The CD revolutionized the quality of personal audio. But one invention in the 1990s transformed the way millions of people shared music.
The surprising thing to us about MP3 is that it's actually not as good as CD quality. But the fact that you have consumer choice and the ability to carry it around and it still sounds really good is what's made it successful.
MP3 stands for MPEG-1, Layer 3. It's a compression standard that allows people to shrink music files down to 10% of the original recording without much quality loss. It works its magic by utilizing a compression algorithm that mimics the characteristics of human hearing. The MP3 algorithm discards those sounds that the ear can't perceive as well. For example, the ear can't hear softer sounds at the same time that it's hearing louder ones. An MP3 recording would throw out those softer sounds. The popularity of MP3s exploded on the internet as users discovered they could easily encode and share these smaller files. By 2000, peer-to-peer networks, such as Napster, were gaining a lot of attention from both consumers and the recording industry. But the history of the MP3 dates back another 13 years. In 1987, Karl-Heinz Brandenburg, a modest German scientist working with the Fraunhofer Institute in Erlangen, Germany, started working on a compression system that would become MP3. After several years, Brandenburg and his colleagues at the Fraunhofer Institute found a compression system that both maintained suitable quality, yet significantly reduced file size. In 1992, the Moving Picture Experts Group, an association in charge of developing international standards for compression, adopted the MPEG-1 standard. But Brandenburg's compression system took lots of computing power that wasn't available on most home computers at the time.
Their colleagues were saying, well, it's all very nice, but it's just too expensive. No one is ever going to have that much compute power available, so this is just simply an academic exercise. And consequently, Karl-Heinz put it up on the shelf, and no one really looked at it for the next 5 years. But within 5 or 6 years, that amount of computation was suddenly available to people on their desktops. Suddenly, this became the hottest thing.
In 1998, Diamond Multimedia introduced the first portable MP3 player.
There came the huge revolution of MP3 players. Instead of wearing a cassette player or a CD player when you go running, now everybody's got a little tiny micro digital MP3 player on their sleeve, on their wrist, on their arm, and that stores music that you can play back just about anywhere you want.
There are even MP3 watches. And the next generation of music compression promises even greater potential. Barry Vercoe, working at MIT's Media Lab, was a big contributor to the MPEG-4 audio format.
And what we have in MPEG-4 audio is essentially postscript for audio. That is to say, instead of sending the audio in its full frequency format, what you're sending is a representation of the little components of the composition and where to put them in time.
Instead of transmitting a complicated composition, it's like sending the sheet music and letting your computer do the hard work.
You suddenly have a huge reduction in the size of the information that's sent. Where MP3 was 10% of original PCM, this is 10% of that. So now we're down to 1% of the original PCM in MPEG-4 format. Now, if you thought that MP3 did a job in the music industry, wait until MPEG-4 hits the fans.
Smaller files mean songs can be sent even faster. While record labels might not believe in the motto, share and share alike, because it's cutting into their record sales, plenty of music lovers do. In 1999, the word MP3 surpassed the word sex as the most searched term on the Internet's top search engines. Welcome to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Here at the Media Lab, technology is born. Students work at computer screens with an Apple in one hand and the next revolutionary digital technology in the other. Tired of that computer screen? How about a tangible interface instead?
The idea of tangible interfaces is that we're bringing digital information out into the physical environment. So rather than working with conventional graphical user interfaces and keyboard and mouse, sort of generic controllers that let you control a large variety of applications on the computer, we're bringing digital information into physical objects that we can manipulate with our hands and sort of spreading it onto surfaces and into spaces. I've developed this tangible interface platform for exploring multiple viewpoint stories. So here I'm using physical pawns as a means of interacting with a story. So I have these graspable objects that are wirelessly sensed on this interaction surface. And as I place, each one represents a character. So if I want to see where two characters' stories overlap, I can simply touch them together. So there's actually not a great deal of overlap between those two at the moment. This fourth object here, the lens-like object, is actually a selection tool that lets me view the content from each of the clips. And it'll play back on the monitor here.
That's my house. It has no shape to it. It's like a big giant square.
It kind of combines both sort of a game board with a more storytelling side, kind of conventional cinema.
Can't get a song out of your head? Why not search for it online? Don't remember the title? No problem.
The system we built is called a query by humming system. It allows the user to search for music by humming the melodies. The first step is I record my hummed query. Da 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 da. The computer will try to compute the pitches of each note and the beats automatically in real time. Now I got the right result. That's the result returned by the server. It thinks this is the most similar song in the database.
Sometimes the applications aren't clear-cut today, but these guys are working with the seeds of the technologies that you're going to die to have in 5 years.
This is the handheld device that we deliver the video to. It's equipped with a location detection system, in this case GPS, and also a wireless network card that we use to talk to the server and to receive the video.
A person's position would trigger streaming video. Ideal if you're needing information about a restaurant you're standing in front of, or in this case, for entertainment purposes.
The idea behind this murder mystery story is that you follow different characters around campus and try to determine who killed this professor. So each clip is associated with a location, which is associated with GPS coordinates.
New clues and characters would be fed to the device depending on your location. But entertainment is only one application for this type of program. The MIT Media Lab has been working on the concept of location-aware video streaming for several years.
In the future, knowing about the world is very different because this media will exist out there and you can actually know about things as you're about to ask the question about them. We drive through landscape. These are beautiful landscapes, but we know very little about them. What if in your car that will be instrumented with viewable apparatus, your kids could actually hear about a fossil that was found in rock that you're driving through 363 million years ago?
It's like knowing the answer before asking the question. By knowing where a person is in time and space, a computer could feed audio and visual information to a person about anything and everything around them.
You wear a pair of glasses. That glass has a viewable screen positioned right here. That screen is see-through, so when you're looking at an exhibit, you see that exhibit fully. But when you want to see a background piece on that exhibit, it comes to you, and you see that in the little screen.
Now the push is to connect everyone using wireless technology. Here's one of the latest inventions to combine the wireless concept and miniaturization. It's what's called a wearable computer. A small computer similar to a PDA provides internet access and other applications. Those fashionable glasses contain a display screen, and the small device she's holding is a one-handed keyboard. But future digital devices won't necessarily be ones you wear. They may well be part of you, literally. Before long, you might be able to buy an ocular implant to improve your vision. How about a molar phone implant? Students at the Royal College of Art in London are working on it. So maybe digital boys' toys help define who you are. But in the future, they just might be who you are. Welcome to one of the holy shrines of Digidevotion, an electronics superstore. A temple of technology where men come to worship those things that help them see the bigger picture. Get back in touch with those things that matter. And ponder the meaning of life. Yeah, it's all about toys. In the 21st century, a man is measured by his RAM and his ROM, as well as his brain and his brawn.
We have a ritual now among guys. It's the spec roll call. Well, mine has a 600 gigahertz processor. What does yours have? It's our way of one-upping each other.
If you ask Shaquille O'Neal, he'll tell you he's got to have the very latest, greatest tech gadget that's out there.
Worship. Now digital technology is giving our old family friend a facelift. Digital television is the biggest thing to happen to TV since Elvis appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show.
Digital television is the umbrella term for this new medium that will replace analog television as we've known it for 50 years.
Digital TV refers to televisions which can receive and display digital signals. At the highest levels, it's all about a bigger and better picture. Each traditional broadcast station is allocated 6 megahertz of bandwidth. Think of bandwidth like a highway, and each lane is 6 megahertz wide. With digital TV, the signal is compressed, meaning more traffic can fit down that same 6 megahertz lane. One reason
before any of his teammates have it. This has your entire CD inside of it.
What is that?
This is called a music clip from Sony. It is all a measure of him being cooler than everybody else.
Better, faster, cheaper. It's somewhat amazing when you see faster processor speeds and at the same time less expensive processors so that you get the benefit of both.
But buying bragging rights costs money. Today, electronics manufacturers do just about anything to grab attention. And a piece of the $50 billion spent by consumers on digital products every year.
Digital products let us stay connected to our work and our family. They let us take our entertainment, music, and movies with us just about anywhere. They let us record memories of our families growing up, special events in our lives.
The driving force that's making television crisper, electronics smaller, ones and zeros, ons and offs are fueling the new wave of gotta-have gadgets and gizmos. The toys, correction, the essentials that guys see and say, yeah, I need that. From phones to flat screens, CDs to MP3s, it's become a digital world. Now, Digitech on Modern Marvels. And access to information faster is digital technology.
Defining digital really comes down to looking at it as a language. We've all heard about ones and zeros and the binary language and all of that. And digital is really a way of expressing content in a binary way. So when you look out at the world, you see images, you hear sounds. It's taking all of that and making it into a language that the computers and the machines can understand.
The computer language of ones and zeros lets us compress vast amounts of information down into manageable files for easier storage, manipulation, and transmission. Every year, manufacturers introduce new digital products. If this is a temple of technology, then the television is the altar at which men